Hey, Vaughn, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I can't complain. See if I get some
Oh,
lights on.
man.
Make it not as bright in my face. How was your week? How's your last week or so been?
It's been decent. Yeah, no, just staying busy. Yeah, and honestly, we just put out a promotion out there about adding a new market, and I'm getting blown up all over the place right now. I'm like, what is this? What is this? How can I get these pricing? So, yeah, it's been pretty decent so
Great.
far.
No, that's great. I mean, that should be making you smile, giving you more to do, right?
You're not wrong, but honestly, it's my producers were crying because they only get like one lead a day right now. So I was like, all right, let me do some promoting, and we'll see about getting something out there and generating those leads for them. So here's hoping.
Oh, that's great. No, that's awesome. Well, again, thank you. It's good to finally make this official. I know we've kind of had a little preliminary, and so this is good to kind of start. And I've got some questions, and I'll just kind of it's just going to be like it was at the beginning. We'll just kind of flow through it, and at the end, I'll we'll kind of wrap up, and I can answer questions and kind of talk about anything there to go from there. But if you're ready, we'll
Perfect.
we'll 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 knock this out. Because the last time I was with you, you said, "Hey, look, I've only about scratched about 10% of this." So here we go. We got 30 minutes. Let's see what we got here, right?
Cover quite a bit. There is some stuff we'll probably not be able to dive into because once you get real deep in the weeds, it gets pretty technical. But that's exactly what we're here for: is to be technical and make sure that we write insurance policies that actually pay out and make a difference for our customers.
Good. Now that's great. That's great. All right. So kind of start off here. So I've got some my questions here. I'm just kind of going through. When we met last time, you kind of gave me the trailer last time for your audience. Take us back to, I believe you said 2021. What was the actual moment you decided to go all in and open VT Insurance?
Yeah, so and like we were saying, I came from an underwriting background, transferred over to a broker side. I did that for quite a few years until that old brokerage got purchased out by a large conglomerate, which tried to put me in a position that I really wasn't suited for. At the same time, during that period, drone technology was really starting to make some big waves, and one of the big industry disruptors of the DJI T30 was coming out that year of 2021. And so, with the approval of my wife, of course, I told her, look, I think this is going to be a good idea to try to make a go of this and be the drone guy in the insurance space. And lo and behold, it was right time, right place. And so, yeah, we've basically either tripled or doubled every single year since we got started. And have helped underwriters mold policies together from manned application with UAV policies in place for non-ag. And so we kind of merged those together. I gave a lot of instruction on what that should look like, and they took my advice on it. Big manufacturers like DJI also reached out asking about ag drone insurance, and you can actually see an article I wrote on their website back then. And yeah, it's really just kind of took off from there because technology has just expanded exponentially,
Yeah.
not only on the DJI side, but I believe today we have over, gosh, I want to say 10 to 12 manufacturers all around the country or the world. And then now we're starting to see some domestic manufacturing come in, which we're helping get them set up on the not only regulation side, but also with their insurance compliances as well.
So you talk a lot about, or it sounds like you've got some clout, some people trust what you have to say, your opinion. Kind of how did that come about? How did you get to a place where obviously when you write articles or you speak about something, especially with the drone technology and insurance policies for those, how did you get to that place where people are like, hey, we need to listen to Vaughn? Because if I look at it, 70% of all legally flying AG drones in the US, they're insured by you. So that says a lot about you. So I know you may not like to brag, but tell me a little bit about like why they go to you. Why you, Vaughn?
No, and you're right. I don't like to gloat too often, but in certain cases, I guess it is appropriate. And honestly, in this situation, it was, like I said, right place, right time. Past experience of over a decade of
Yeah.
aerial application insurance experience, both on both sides, the underwriter side and the broker side, really, I feel like gave me a step up in the competition. And to be quite honest, no one else really wanted to do it at the time. These are small policies, not a lot of drones out there doing it at that time. To give you a comparison, an air tractor 802 policy valued at a $2 million full value with 300,000 chemical limits is anywhere between $60,000 to $70,000. For a single drone, we're looking at $3,000 to $6,000. And so for the established brokerages who deal in the aerial application space, it just wasn't worth their time. I was literally the only experienced insurance provider who wanted to make this their primary focus. And I'm not saying I'm the only one at this time, but I am the most seasoned one at this time. And it was from the very beginning of when these things really started making a push.
So, I've done some research and looking, like, it's really just you think about the technology, you kind of mentioned the technology, and it's amazing at how advanced. And so when you look at these drones and spraying chemicals, on fields and things like that, what is, you've seen them, like I have not. So maybe walk us through a little bit of like what this looks like and what is it doing, and just the because for somebody who doesn't know, like, I'll be honest, I didn't know this existed. And I think there's a lot of people that don't know that this exists. And so, if I'm a small farmer or a farmer and I'm doing this, give us a little like what this looks like.
Sure. So, and I can take you as far back as you want to go, but let's just kind of taper it into a nice little segment here. Basically, for the last 100 years, tractors and ground spraying units have been the primary source for personal use farmers or even commercial in some instances. But it was basically back in the 1950s when crop dusting really started taking effect, and it pumped out a bunch of acres in a fraction of the time that some of this other stuff was going on. So that really started taking a hold, and it was fixed wing piston engine at the time. Then it transitioned to turbine engine, which made even faster progress. You can put out a lot more, carry heavier loads. And then helicopters really started becoming prominent, and they were able to handle some of those more awkward shaped fields, wide open, great narrow rows. But then technology kept getting better, and drones started coming into play. And when that happened, yes, we did take a step backwards on how much could be sprayed, but the lack or the safety that goes into this, meaning there's no longer a pilot flying 8 to 10 feet off the ground, really has been a big selling point for the drones coming into the market and getting those pilots out of those dangerous situations. I mean, you even had pilots flying under power lines on some instances. And on average, in the last decade, we've seen anywhere between 10 to 30 deaths per year on the manned occupation side. So that's what really drove me to get into the drones because, man, the hardest call you'll ever have to make is not when you lose business, it's when you have to call the wife of the insured not that incident happened, but how to move forward with their life after that. And needless to say, I've had zero of those calls since I opened VT. And thank goodness that's been one of those cases. But yeah, to get back to your original question, which is how has this technology evolved? Well, when we first started, we were talking about 5 liter, 10 liter, and a couple gallon hopper size on these drones, which are basically nothing. And the battery life on this stuff is anywhere between 5 minutes to 20 minutes. And so at the very beginning, now it's evolved to 20 to 30-minute flights with up to 40 gallons of chemical that you can haul. And it's just getting bigger, especially now that we're domestically manufacturing these in certain instances. We're actually seeing guys move away from the pure 100% electric versions where we just use batteries. And we're going to more of a hybrid system, which allows for longer flight times, heavier capacity, and now it's actually competing against helicopters. We're not in the fixed wing 800-gallon hopper section yet, where we're competing against airplanes, but helicopters is one of those segments that A lot of our manned applicators are strongly looking at these things as an alternative source. Furthermore, guys who do use the ground rigs, you're spending anywhere between $250,000 to $500,000 on one of these big Hagies or big tractors. These
Yeah.
drone kits are starting anywhere between $20,000 to $50,000. So the return on investment just from that pure tangible equity that you have in those pieces of equipment is leaps and bounds better than what you're getting on those tractors. And that doesn't even account for what you run over on the tractors, which is anywhere between 3 to 5% of the crop yield.
Yeah, no, that's so amazing. I was actually going back to talking about the helicopter. I was actually in Montana. I love to fly fish, and I was out there and saw some of the fields out there. There's a lot of fields, obviously a lot of agriculture there. But one of the crop dusters flying, and I was amazed at how close to the ground they were, and just thinking, man, one little wrong turn or move and it's over. And they were, I mean, obviously they were seasoned and professional in doing it, but man, I didn't grow up seeing that. And it was, when you said that, it resonated like, man, yeah, that's one little wrong move and it's bad. Yeah. I think it's another thing that you mentioned that's really interesting is, at the cost of these, a farmer who has a large field or a large crop could have multiple of these probably working at the same time. And so, where maybe you're filling up a tractor and going out and spending a few hours doing it, this could be a lot cleaner, less dusty, less flying around, moving around. So very interesting there. So I want to move into kind of the industry trends. You talked about taking this from the wild west. You had mentioned that last time we were together. Professional industry. What does the wild west version actually look like? What are the bad actors doing that are out there? Because you mentioned there's some that's just kind of the wild west. So maybe what is it they're doing that let's bring spotlight to that.
And by the way, one key note that I mentioned where we say 70%, it's 70% of all legally flying drones, which I do want to make sure I preface that because anything that we do here at our agency, we are educators first and we are insurance agents second. We are going to make sure that you're legal and compliant or going through one of our programs to become legal in the transition period of getting your FAA documentation and to make sure that your insurance policies will pay out in that event. So with that, the FAA they don't know what to do with drones. They've been living in the world of manned application for over 100 years. And so when you throw in a drone, there are certain rules, and I'll just kind of dive into the 137, which is the crop dusting section of the FAR aim, and it's basically allows aircraft to spray economic poisons that will affect the environment is the official definition. Well, in that 137, you have rules like, hey, pilots are required to wear a seatbelt. Pilots are also required to have your registration in your glove box, things like that. And so with drones, it's just not practical. And so what the FAA had to do was make exemptions to the 137 to do legal flight operations. Not only that, they have to approve any of these drones through an exemption process to be legal to fly in federal airspace, even in uncontrolled Class G airspace, they need that. And so what we're finding is this process is taking quite a long time from I bought a drone to I am now legal to fly. And whenever we're talking about ag, you're talking about a very seasonal industry. You're talking, in some cases, up in like North Dakota, Montana, you might have 2 months out of the year that you're actually spraying, whereas in Florida, you might be spraying 8 months to 12 months out of the year.
Right.
What that means, though, is if I bought a drone, I am expecting to fly that season, and it's a very limited time that I can do it, but the FAA is saying, hey, we didn't issue your 44807 exemptions, or you don't have your Part 137 certifications. Heck, you might not even have your Part 107 license. That's where it becomes the wild west. We'll just have guys just say, I got a drone, I'm using it. Come get me if you think you can. So what we're doing to take it from the wild west to the professional industry like they have with manned is to do, well, quite a few things. First off is the education aspect of it. Inform people. We've built a UPass, which stands for the Unmanned Pilot Association for Safety and Standards, so they can go in there and check out all the rules and regs to get ready to go there. We
Love
also have a
that.
program called Yep, we also have a program called Pharmitude, which allows pilots who are waiting on their paperwork from the FAA to legally fly as a contract pilot under the Pharmitude Part 137 and 44807 exemptions. While they're waiting on their paperwork to come in, basically acts as a stopgap so that they can start making money right away, while also educating them on how to be a professional pilot. And then lastly, technology. Technology has been a huge boom in our industry. One of the things that we did is we partnered with multiple industry partners to go out and connect via API from our technology system into their technology systems. And so
Nice.
what we can do with this is not only report exactly the type of flight conditions they were flying in, what exact chemical they were spraying on what day, but we can actually have reporting forms that can go to the FAA or to just their underwriters in my instance and help give discounts and insurance or compliancy checks for those rogue actors. Now, part of that though is data sharing agreements. Obviously, you need to make sure everyone's in agreement to use whatever systems you're using. But one of the things we're working on, and there's a guy, Alex Ryan, he just formed his new lobbying firm called Atlas, and we just went to Washington, D.C. to talk about a few of these things on Capitol Hill to help potentially move us in the right direction so that the FAA can start policing these guys and making those rogue actors go away so that we can have a more standardized industry.
That's really, really cool. So where do you see the next wave of aerial ag growth coming from? New drone models, new chemicals, new geographies. Where do you see kind of like as we are sitting today? What's the new wave?
Sure. So this industry is limited by technology, obviously. So with any emerging technology, that means that we are in our infancy because we just basically really started ramping up about 5 years ago. And this is only going to get bigger, better, faster. The problem right now is other countries such as China, India, there's also Hungary. They're about 5 years ahead in technology than the US, which is kind of wild to think about. You always think
Yeah.
the USA is number one in everything. And unfortunately, when it comes to drones, we've really taken a step backwards. And so what we are doing right now, well, actually, let me go ahead and preface by saying, with the foreign actors of other countries being such a high priority for this administration and honestly other administrations that come down the line, the FCC actually did a foreign drone ban as of December 23rd of 2025. And so what that entails is that no new models of foreign made drones can come into the US and be sold or operated. Now, models can be sold and operated here in the US. So, what that basically means is that we are stuck in December 2025 technology for the foreseeable future until domestic products start catching up to that technology that is being sourced by these foreign countries. Now,
Uh,
at this point, yes, we're still behind, but it looks like America's going to do what America does and do it their own way. And so this is where I say the hybrid models and larger drones are going to start really coming into play because the things that are so far ahead in technology are batteries, motors, and computer chips, which computer
mm.
chips are actually, we're catching up pretty quickly. But those other two, those are the big ones. And if we can replace the batteries with gas and we can replace electric motors with fuel powered motors, yeah, then I think we can catch up pretty quickly.
Kind of move into a little bit of some, you as a company and a business and some things that you deal with. And so, your platform today, kind of your current state where you are, your platform handles drone quotes automatically. What does the rest of the operation look like? Is it, the stuff and that still runs on people instead of technology? What is that? What does that look like for you today?
So I apologize. Kind of like how do we as an agency handle
Yeah,
incoming?
yeah, because I think you told me before, like a lot, like your platform handles like the drone quotes, like you kind of have those kind of set up automatically. So kind of, how
Mhm.
big is your operation today? And then what, is it just you or you got a few people? And then what does the rest of what does it look like? What is it's handled by, I guess, humans today?
So yes, as VT Insurance Agency, we're made up of about 14 people and six producers. Each of those producers have a certain region across the country that they handle business out of, as well as distribution partners that they are partnered with. Whenever we do get a drone lead from either a distributor or a wholesaler, which we'll talk about that in a second, then that'll get fed directly into our system and be assigned to one of our agents who will then do their pre-underwriting, even though we're not underwriters and we're not an MGA, we do have the trust of our underwriters to make sure that we are checking those boxes before requesting any kind of bind request that issues policies. So what our platform does is it's automatically set up that so that a person can go fill out the form. It'll automatically send it to our system and spit out the best three quotes that the industry can provide. And those can be filtered either by best cost, best bang for your buck on higher limits, what meets certain contract requirements, anything under the sun from that end. Furthermore, like I said, not only are we getting these leads from distributors who basically have a package deal now that they can sell a drone and then they can now partner with us to get their insurance for their customer same day before they leave that facility.
That's great.
Well, guys just want to use one local agent who also does their farm and ranch policies with. What we've also done is not excluded those types of insurance agents, and we've actually partnered with them, allowing them to use our system to access those markets who we're bringing in every single month or every single year, and allow them to quote through our system so that their customers can still have that one access point for their insurance needs.
So they can
So
their people that they maybe have been with for years or whatever.
exactly. So, and again, my goal here at VT Insurance is not so much to make as much money as you can. I mean, money's great and all, but really my mission statement as an owner of this business and as a technology platform business is to grow this industry and make it as professional as possible and have it as healthy as possible. One thing we don't want to see is a bunch of bad actors trying to write policies willy-nilly just so that they can make a quick buck.
Yeah.
That's not gonna sustain this industry. It's we're still in our infancy, which also means we're still kind of vulnerable to bad things happening if enough bad people do too many times. So my what we would like to do is be the insurance professional that everyone uses because A, we have all the markets, and B, we make it easy and we will make sure that you will get paid out if a claim would happen.
Yeah. One bad actor is all it takes to put a bad taste, right? Then people all of a sudden don't want to do it. So true. It happens, especially when you're like you are. It's new, right? This is a new thing. So you want to do it right. And you're right. There's a lot of people come in and say, oh, we do that too. We can do that too. And then next thing they're cutting corners to try to make a dollar, and they're not really one thing I can tell by talking to you, you're passionate about educating and making sure people do it right. And I think that's great because, that's the way I am too. And what I love to help people, and I love to make sure they are educated and understand, what rather do it the right way than just trying to make a dollar. I agree with that. So one of the things we talked about last time, you've got a lot on your plate. You wear many hats, I think. So, you've scaled 14 to 15 people pretty fast and probably could scale even faster. I mean, it's just a matter of making about 20 of you. What is generally the hard about running the team right now? What do you struggle with right now? And not just your workload, but the management side. What is it that you would say is kind of a challenge for you?
Well, that's the million dollar question. At the end of the day, I'm just one man. I do as much as I can. And time, though, there's just literally not enough hours in the day for as much as I need to do. And that's why I've hired on a bunch of agents this year to help offload some of my books so that I can do some more of that high level things that I do to keep this industry and this agency running efficiently. Time management is really, for me, has been spent on the technology side, trying to make our system more efficient, more streamlined, more automated, so that whenever someone requests a binder, we can then use our system to API into the underwriter system so that we can have all the policy documents instantaneously, and that includes binders, certificates, policies, everything. And that way they can go to their pesticide board that same day and be able to get their pesticide license to start operating legally on their state level and be ready to rock and roll. Now, another part of it is I did mention those. We got the agency hat, we got the technology hat, but the other part that we haven't really mentioned is the American Drone Net, which just launched this year. And what this is a brand new way of thinking about how to do this industry without going all in as a full entrepreneur with all the expense costs that are involved with it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I am an equity partner in this network. I truly believe in what they're trying to do right now. And what this is the Uber experience for ag drones. And so what the American Drone Network will do is have an app where they can reach out to their member pilots who have equity shares in the network as well. And they can go out to farmers and co-ops and chemical companies who might have test plots to go out and say, hey, we need a job done April 11th at 10 a.m. to do 50 acres. And that'll pop up on the app, and the member pilots will be able to click on that job, accept it, and then go do that job. The beauty of this network is it has the same kind of things that I'm talking about where everyone talks to each other. The chemical companies talk through the app, insurance companies talk through the app, the manufacturing companies talk through the app. And so how it works is member pilots who don't want to spend $100,000 on truck, trailer, drone setup, and they just want to kind of get started fairly quickly under the supervision of UPass and Pharmitude, which are the educational wings of this industry. They can sign up and do through a lease program and have lease drones from the network to use for those jobs that are provided also by the network, by those same chemical companies, co-ops, and farmers that are all partnered into this. And so what we're going to see is you're going to have chemical discounts, insurance discounts, and leasing discounts due to the partnerships through all those industry leaders. And that's going to pave the way for a new way of doing these types of drone operations versus where every farmer needs to go through the FAA process, wait 8 months, get a drone, and just to do their own fields. Well, now they're going to be able to do what they do on the manned application side, call in a manned applicator to do it, but now it's on an app for their phone and do that. So that's the other hat that I wear because, again, I am part equity owner in that, and we're trying to push that out, and that should help with a lot of the getting out of the Wild West into a more professional industry.
It's kind of almost making it like not a club, but a group that's professionals that can come out and do it. If I'm a farmer and maybe I'm a little older and I don't want to do it, but I can just pick up that app or have someone and let them come do it, pay them to do that, spray my fields for me, done, right? I don't have to just to have a bunch of tractors sitting there that I've been paying, gas and maintenance and all those things for. So, yeah, it's really, really, really interesting. It's amazing that the technology and where we're going. I think that's what makes this so cool is like, it's, I don't think there's a lot of people that know about this, probably in the farming world they do, but I would even say maybe even in the farming world that don't know a lot about this, that you'd be shocked that, farming is a vital part of our economy and what we do. And it always has been. And so I think it's, always really cool to hear what's going on and kind of, how we make it better. So, as we kind of end here and one of the things I was going to ask you is, you had mentioned that, you were looking at possibly you could probably double what you did last year if things would go right. And so what are, I guess, when you say go right, what are the roadblocks that you're facing today? What is it that's that's keeping you from doing that? What's is it time in the day? Is it what? What is that?
Yeah. So the things that will set us back is we're no longer the only game in town. As much as I hate to say it, people are starting to wisen up and they're saying, hey, we can start to insure this stuff. And so we are starting to see other brokers use wholesalers to get to those markets that we have. What we're trying to do is be that wholesaler for those local brokers who are trying to place their business for their person. And the way we're going to be able to double or hopefully maybe even triple is by having those people go through our system outside of their typical wholesale network, because we are officially the easy button for providing quotes, because you get it instantaneously, same day, and it has a lot of instructional information in the system. The other big factor is regulations and partnerships. So regulations, if the government comes out tomorrow and says, hey, we're not going to let drones fly if they're foreign made. Well, that's a big problem, because that's basically everything out there right now. And then other insurance agencies who might have partnerships with different distributors, that might be a hindrance as well. But hopefully, with us being able to bring in all the markets and give the absolute best pricing in the industry, I do foresee that this automated system is going to eventually take over and be able to provide that for anyone that's asking for it. So that's how I'm hoping that we can continue to grow our business.
That's great. Well, Vaughn, thank you so much for, spending some time with me and kind of going through this. It's a fascinating, it really, really is. I could probably talk to you for hours, and you got a lot of things you got to do, but I could really, I think it's just so interesting. And so I really appreciate this and kind of talking with me a little bit about this, making an awareness. I think it's really cool.